Hi, I'm JJ. Welcome back. I was tagged for this discussion about what contemporary books do you consider already classics in your heart. So it has to be books published 2000 or later. And it was a discussion prompt by Andrew at YCBRM, and I was tagged by Andrew as well. So it says for the prompt, list and talk about books from any genre that were published post 2000 that you want to be remembered as classic novels in the future. And so, man, I've read some great ones recently. I only have a few here, more than a few. Of the actual copies of, and then there's a few that I couldn't find that I know I owned, and then some that I just haven't gotten around to yet. So it is kind of a long list because I've read quite a few books that are very special to me, and so for the ones that I don't have. Obviously, Percy Jackson and the Olympians by Rick Riordan and The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins will be on the list and should be on most people's list who've read them. They're definitely classics and close to my heart. Other ones that I do not have with me are the Lilac People by Milo Todd. I read that earlier this year, and it is a story of a trans man who was in the concentration camps in World War II, and then when the Allies came over, instead of freeing them like they freed all the other prisoners and stuff, they actually arrest them, because in the United States and other allied places like Britain, being within the LGBT community was illegal or very frowned upon, and so they basically had to once again hide or run to try to get safe. So it's a historical fiction that you get to learn about that aspect, and then he has to risk his own life and safety when another trans escapee boy shows up on his doorstep, and is it worth risking it all when you know what the consequences are, but also what if you turn him in, what he'll go through. So a fantastic book. Another one that's very dear to me, I read last year, and one of my favorites last year, Martyr, and I forgot to write who wrote that, so I'll have to do a description down below and write down some of these titles. Another one is The Reformatory by Tana Nariv Du. So first, Martyr is a Iranian American who is telling a story, trying to figure out where he belongs in the world. He has an obsession with martyrs, what a good death means, because his mom had been killed in a plane crash that was considered and deemed an accident, but it still took her life, and he had dealt with that his whole life, and just what grief and death and living means as he struggles to try to understand all that, and then finds out about this art exhibit where this living artist, so living art, and this artist is dying, and her exhibit is you can come and ask her any questions that you want. You can sit with her, you can just kind of get the answers of life if you're seeking them from someone so close to death. The Reformatory is a horror story that has haunts or ghosts, but the villains and the monsters in the story are actually human rather than the ghosts. So it's a black boy who gets sent to a school, which is actually a prison, where they're very badly treated, abused, and even worse. Uh, and he starts to see Haints who are trying to tell him how to expose what is going on there, and he has to decide if he believes them, if he wants to try to help them, or if he wants to try to figure out a way out there on his own and escape. Another one that I do not have that I really enjoyed was A Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee. I love a good heist story, and so this is a heist story, but it's Chinese Americans or Chinese, like a group of Chinese citizens, but then also Chinese American citizens in the United States who are paid to try to steal Chinese art back from museums and return it to their own country. And so it exposes the fact of how museums are created by colonizers once they take a country and loot it from all of its wealth. Then they put it in a museum so everyone can see, instead of having it belong to the country whose right it is to have that. So you kind of get to understand and explore that side of things in a fun and interesting way. And then the other one that I do not have, Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boley, and that is one of 3 books by her so far. All of them I would include in this list since it is mine. And she is an Indigenous author, and she writes stories that are basically if you have an Indigenous Nancy Drew story. So they're mysteries with the Indigenous twist, where you get culture and you get what's really going on with their lives. So one of them is the rampant drug trade and problems on reservations. Another one is how all of their bones were dug up by bone collectors, or even by just when you're pulverizing the land and wanting to build, and they just unearth all these indigenous cemeteries and stuff, and then they keep the bones. A lot of universities have them in their basements, essentially, and have not returned them once again to their tribes where they belong. And then the other newest one by her is about the Indian Child Welfare Act and how the U.S. government and white people would go on to these reservations, declare that the children were being neglected, but it was because they were impoverished because of how we treat the reservations, and they were separated from their families. And then there is an act in Congress that's trying to restore families, or at least the children who were stolen to their tribes if families are not found. And so she shines a light on all of that stuff, and they're also good mysteries and just really good stories that I've enjoyed. Another one on my list is Next Time Will Be Our Turn by Jessie Q. Sutano, and that is a Indonesian American story where basically Indo-Chinese people come to the United States, go to school here, and then how, especially in Michigan, is actually a place that has a lot of Chinese Indonesians, which I learned in that book, which I didn't realize even being from Michigan. This was taking place in California though, and it is a beautiful sapphic love story, but you also get this like the Chinese Indonesian culture, how she has to have duty and honor and marry who her parents want her to marry, return to Indonesia, and not use her degree to, basically getting a degree is just one extra thing that allows her to marry well, rather than actually being able to implement all the stuff that she learned like she wanted to. So she has to try to navigate what she really wants in the world and buck the system and stuff like that. And it's kind of told in like a dual timeline, where a grandmother is telling her granddaughter her story of her lost love, because she had to honor the family rather than her heart. And then I think that's the Bear Town. It's a trilogy by Frederick Bachman. I once again have a copy of these books, but I did not get it together with all the rest. And that is Hockey Town, two rival hockey towns, Bear Town and Head, and how violence and differences separate them, and then how a tragedy further basically shatters the community in Bear Town, and how that later affects both towns, and using their love for hockey to kind of tell this overall story and really get to know the communities and the people within it, and what makes a community and what breaks a community. So those are the ones that I would absolutely put on here that I just didn't have copies of at the moment. This is going to be a long video because I have a bunch, so I'm just going to do a quick discussion for the rest of them. Queen of Faces by Petra Lord. I just finished this one recently, and it's my current all-time favorite book. It's queer, trans fantasy that is one of the most unique things that I've ever read. One of the things within this is how the rich can basically buy custom bodies, and there's like body swapping, so you never really know who to trust, you never really know what's going on. So there's so many wonderful twists. There's a bit of a heist element to it. You have a magic school for the haves, and then the poor who can't afford the new bodies, but also, even if they're magical, don't have the connections and stuff to get into the school to further themselves. And like just all these different amazingly well done themes that tell a really great story. And I'm excited for book 2 of this. The next one, and I only have the second one, and this is another duology. The first one is She Who Became the Sun, and this is He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. And this is basically Chinese retelling of one of the emperors in China, who basically were fighting the Mongols and stuff like that. I wish I had the first one with me because it talks about the time period it was set in. But in the first one, a girl basically pretends to be a boy so that she can actually have a chance at life and advance, and eventually becomes like a head of a unit, and continues to fight the invading Mongols. And her basically main antagonist is a eunuch from that culture, and kind of getting to see these two people who are more alike than they realize, both pretending, or not even pretending, but both being different than how the world sees them, and not letting that stop them as they continue to rise among the ranks and shape events within this world. This one I actually preferred better. The first one is great, introducing the world, but this book was excellent. Another one that I read last year that I really enjoyed was Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Rebay. And this was about a Filipino American who lives in the United States. He finds out his favorite cousin died. He doesn't accept the way that he died, what he's being told. So he actually flies to the Philippines, gets reunited with family he hasn't seen in like a decade, kind of relearns his culture, comes back, learns to relove his culture and his that side of himself, as he tries to investigate what really happened to his cousin. The next one is a trilogy fantasy, The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. And this is great espionage, political intrigue. It's essentially retelling with magical and great elements of the French colonization in Africa. So you have the African people wanting to rise up against their oppressors, their new queen, and to do that they have to like reawaken the magic within their land that was hidden from them and kept from them as they were colonized and essentially their society and stuff erased. And the next one, another trilogy, The Jasmine Throne, Tasha Suri, and this is a Indian mythology and beautiful, once again, political intrigue and magic, and in a world where the women are sent to be sacrificed and burned to appease the gods, and the princess refuses this sacrifice and now has to be in exile and team up with her country's enemy in order to try to retake the throne from her brother who wanted to have her killed. Excellent story. This one is a quartet series. The series is The Dark and Hollow Star, and this is the first book. So you have fairies and magical things within our world. It's just kind of hidden from us. So you have so many great different mythological creatures that you meet, but you have also this political world of fairies, of the light and dark, of the north and south, and all these different factions that believe that they should have the main throne over all of their people, and what they will do to do it, and how a group of teenagers, so this one is a YA, but are tasked with being the pawns in all these political agendas, and no longer want to be, so they have to try to uncover who's behind it all and how to stop them, but how to trust each other first. The next one is another duology. This one is a horror story, Dread Nation, and this is by Justina Ireland. And this is a reimagining of the Civil War ended because the dead on the battlefield rose up as zombies. And so you have the newly freed, formerly enslaved people who are, instead of the Jim Crow South that we got after the Reconstruction era in the Civil War, we instead have them be sent to schools where they're essentially taught to be the zombie hunters so they can protect the white people, and how they are trying to survive the zombies and what's left of the United States in the aftermath of a civil war, with racism still rampant. And so one of the zombie hunters is a light-skinned black woman who has to pass as white to try to help her and the other character within the story navigate this new world and survive all of their enemies. The next one is a multi book, and then there's like series spin-off and stuff, but I really loved this one, and this one is specifically dear to me. Cute Mutants by S.J. Whitby, and these are basically the X-Men with mutant powers, but even queerer than the X-Men, and the found family that they created as they navigate these new powers, try to find out why they got them, try to escape the government agencies that are hunting them, and trying to want to be heroes and save the world while continuously making mistakes because they're new at it and they don't fully understand their powers or where they come from or who's after them or why. It's just, yeah, I've always loved the X-Men, so that one's definitely special to me in my heart. Another one is The Life of Pi by Jan Martel. This one barely made the list because it was published in 2001, so just fit, but it's a fantastic story of what storytelling can be and how telling a story can help heal you from trauma, because the truth is worse than the story that you tell, in a way. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. And the last one is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. This is another horror YA story where grief essentially manifests as monsters, and the monsters are killing people, hunting, and it's up to two boys at a boarding school who are basically misfits, and how they have to try to save themselves and the school and those that they love, but also what that all means and why this is happening. Really great descriptions of grief and loneliness. Very good introduction to that author, and I would like to read more. Anyway, that's a bunch of them that are from this year that I don't know if there was a time limit or an amount that we were supposed to choose, but you tagged me and you asked what ones from this millennia you or I would prefer to have as classics that hopefully other people would want to read, and be not forgotten, and that is my list. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for tagging me on this discussion, and for anyone else who wants to participate, what do you think of the things that were written since 2000 are dearest to your heart that you would want to live on and be considered classics in the future? Anyway, happy discussing, happy reading, and have a great day.